The global transition away from fossil fuels and towards clean energy is happening, and it is unstoppable. Unstoppable because clean energy is the route to energy security. Unstoppable because it is the economic opportunity of our time. And unstoppable because people in Britain and around the world can see the climate crisis is here, and unless we act, things will only get worse. In less than 5 months, this government has shown we will seize the opportunities of speeding up at home, and we've demonstrated climate leadership abroad to deliver energy independence, lower bills, good jobs, economic growth, and the security of a stable climate. Doing all we can, Mr. Speaker, to keep the British people safe, now and for generations to come.
Milliband fired. Starmer fires Ed Milliband as he tries to expose his dirty games with female imps for the first time in over a decade. The political future of Ed Milliband, the former Labour Party leader and current MP for Doncaster North, appears to be under serious threat. Recent polling data from the constituency shows a dramatic decline in support for the veteran Labour politician, with numbers suggesting that he could be on course to lose his seat at the next general election, according to constituency level. Polling released earlier this month, Milliband is currently polling at just 29% in Doncaster North, a sharp drop from the 49% share he secured during the 2019 general election. Meanwhile, Reform UK, the political party founded by Nigel Farage as a successor to the Brexit Party, is polling at a striking 46% in the same area, a 17-point lead over Milliband. If the trend holds, it would not only represent a monumental political upset, but also signal a shifting political identity in a working-class northern seat long considered a Labour stronghold. The prospect of such a high-profile loss has electrified sections of the political landscape, particularly those who view Milliband as emblematic of a Labour Party increasingly out of touch with its traditional base. Doncaster, like many post-industrial towns in the north of England, voted heavily in favour of Brexit in 2016, and frustrations with Labour's position on the EU, immigration, and national identity have been festering ever since. Reform UK appears to have tapped into this sentiment, presenting itself as a more direct and plain-speaking alternative. What makes the potential loss more remarkable is Milliband's stature within the Labour movement. After succeeding Gordon Brown as leader in 2010, he led the party through the 2015 general election, a campaign that ultimately ended in defeat and prompted his resignation. Since then, he has remained a senior figure in Labour politics, serving as Shadow Secretary of State for Climate Change and Net Zero under Sir Keir Starmer's leadership. His political evolution has been marked by a turn toward environmental and energy issues, often invoking ambitious climate targets and the need for industrial transformation in response to climate change. While these themes have found resonance with urban voters and younger demographics, they have done little to persuade more traditional Labour voters in areas like Doncaster North, where economic insecurity and cultural alienation continue to dominate local concerns. A long-time Labour supporter in the area, who asked not to be named, described the current sentiment in blunt terms. "We're not rich people here. Most of us work hard, long hours, and we've been taken for granted for too long. I used to vote Labour because they were for working people, but it doesn't feel like that anymore." Milliband talks about green jobs and emissions we need. Real jobs now, not promises about the future. Others are even more scathing in their assessment. "He's not one of us," another resident said. "He's a career politician from London, not Doncaster. He doesn't understand what people here are really facing." This perception that Milliband is disconnected from the everyday realities of his constituents has been reinforced by a broader narrative taking hold across many of Labour's former heartlands. Reform UK, capitalising on this discontent, has positioned itself as a voice for the disenfranchised working class, railing against what it sees as the political establishment in Westminster. In doing so, it has managed to siphon off votes from Labour, the Conservatives, and even the Liberal Democrats. What's more, These shifts are not confined to Doncaster North. In other areas that held local elections on May 1st, Reform UK made significant inroads, particularly in traditionally Labour-leaning constituencies. If the same voting patterns were replicated in a general election, Reform UK would reportedly gain 79 seats from the three major parties. In contrast, Labour would hold on to just 3 of the constituencies that participated in those local elections. Such figures, while limited in scope to specific regions, nonetheless point to a potential realignment of British politics, one in which Labour's long-standing dominance in the north could be further eroded. For some analysts, the decline in Milliband's support is part of a broader problem for Labour's leadership under Keir Starmer. While the party is currently leading in national polls, the gains are heavily concentrated in London, university towns, and the south-east areas that have little in common with constituencies like Doncaster North. The danger, critics argue, is that Labour may win back power in Westminster while continuing to lose the trust of its traditional working-class base. Milliband's predicament reflects this divide. As one political consultant observed, Ed Milliband has been one of the intellectual drivers of Labour's green transformation, but his own seat is one of the places least convinced by that agenda. That tells you a lot about where Labour is struggling. Whether the polling will translate into actual defeat remains to be seen. Campaigning in marginal or volatile constituencies can shift momentum quickly, and Milliband still enjoys a significant local network and the support of Labour's national apparatus. He has survived difficult election cycles before, including in 2015, when he lost the leadership but retained his seat and could potentially do so again. Still, Reform UK's surge in Doncaster North represents a clear and present danger, one that Labour cannot afford to ignore. With the party seeking to portray itself as the government in waiting, the optics of a former leader being ousted by an insurgent right-wing candidate would be damaging not only symbolically, but also strategically. It would feed into a broader narrative of Labour's disconnect from its past, one that could haunt the party throughout the upcoming campaign season. Among Labour insiders, there are mixed views about how best to respond. Some argue that the party must re-engage directly, with voters in towns like Doncaster listening more, promising less, and showing tangible results. Others believe that Labour should double down on its current messaging, betting that dissatisfaction with the Conservatives and fear of fragmentation on the right will eventually drive voters back into the fold. For now, Milliband has not publicly addressed the polling figures. His team has dismissed them as unrepresentative and pointed out that no formal campaign has yet begun. Still, pressure is mounting. Reform UK's candidate in Doncaster North has seized on the moment, calling for Milliband to debate him directly and accusing Labour of neglecting the constituency for too long. Whether or not Milliband accepts the challenge, it's clear that the political winds have shifted. In what was once considered one of Labour's safest seats, the prospect of defeat is now real. For critics who have long accused Milliband of being out of touch, the polling is seen as long overdue justice. For his supporters, it is a wake-up call, a reminder that no seat, however storied, is guaranteed. As the country looks ahead to the next general election, likely within the next year, the battle for Doncaster North may prove to be more than a local contest. It could become a defining moment in Labour's ongoing struggle to reconcile its past with its future, and a cautionary tale for any politician who assumes that electoral loyalty can be taken for granted. In politics, nothing is permanent, not even a seat held by a former party leader. And as Ed Milliband now faces what could be the fight of his political life, the voters of Doncaster North will soon decide whether his time in Parliament has come to an end. Despite Ed Milliband's long tenure and national profile, the mood among many voters in Doncaster North has turned sharply. Conversations with residents reflect not just dissatisfaction with his leadership or policies, but a deeper feeling of alienation, a belief that he no longer represents the values, struggles, or priorities of the people he was elected to serve. That sense of disconnect has festered over years, and the recent surge in Reform UK's local popularity suggests that a tipping point may have been reached. Milliband's early years as MP for Doncaster North were marked by enthusiastic support. First elected in 2005, he quickly rose through the ranks of the Labour Party, eventually serving in Gordon Brown's cabinet before succeeding him as party leader. Though he never secured a general election victory as leader, many within the party credited him with restoring some moral integrity to the party after the controversies of the Blair era. Yet, whatever national esteem he may have gained during his time at the helm now seems distant in the eyes of many constituents. Younger voters in the constituency, especially those facing precarious employment and housing, have voiced frustration that national politics, including Milliband's brand of Labour politics, no longer seems designed with their struggles in mind. Older voters, some of whom supported Labour for generations, speak openly about feeling taken for granted. Reform UK has capitalised on this atmosphere, running an aggressive ground game in Doncaster North, holding regular town hall events, and positioning themselves as the true voice of ordinary people. One local factory worker, interviewed during a campaign stop, said he used to be a proud Labour voter, but now feels abandoned. "We kept voting Labour thinking things would get better," he said. "But every year, it's the same more rules."
Today, the OBR has
cuts,
recognised the
more
benefits
promises.
of our plan to get
Milliband
Britain
says
building.
we need to go green. But what about now? What about my job next month? These are not isolated sentiments. Across several council estates and rural fringes of the constituency, Reform UK campaigners have. This sentiment has paved the way for Reform UK, which has positioned itself as the true representative of working-class voters. The party's message of taking back control and putting Britain first has struck a chord with many people in Doncaster North who feel that their voices are being drowned out by the political elite. Reform UK has tapped into the frustration that many feel about being overlooked by mainstream parties, offering an alternative that promises to focus on issues they care about, such as immigration, national sovereignty, and job security reform. UK's candidate for Doncaster North has been vocal in attacking Milliband's record, accusing him of being a part of the establishment that has failed to deliver for working-class communities. The party's supporters argue that the political class, particularly in Labour, has become out of touch with the realities of life for ordinary people. Reform UK promises to put the interests of local communities first, offering a stark contrast to Milliband's national focus. This shift in political allegiance is not just a passing trend. The polling numbers showing Reform UK's 17-point lead over Milliband in Doncaster North are significant, especially given that the constituency has traditionally been a Labour stronghold. If this trend continues, Milliband could face the real prospect of losing his seat, an outcome that would be unthinkable to many who have followed his political career closely. The potential loss of Doncaster North to Reform UK would have far-reaching implications, not just for Milliband, but for Labour as a whole. It would send a clear message that Labour is losing its grip on the very constituencies that have long been its foundation. The result could serve as a wake-up call for Labour's leadership, prompting them to rethink their approach to working-class voters. For Milliband, the stakes could not be higher. A loss in Doncaster North would not only be a personal blow, but it would also signal the end of an era for Labour's traditional base. It could represent the final nail in the coffin for the party's once unshakable hold on working-class constituencies. In the north of England, for Labour supporters who still believe in Milliband's vision, the looming threat of defeat is a painful reminder of the difficulties the party faces. Many argue that Milliband's values are still relevant, and that his policies on climate change and social justice should be given more time to resonate with voters. However, in a constituency like Doncaster North, where economic concerns and job security take precedence, Milliband's green agenda has done little to secure his political future. Milliband's critics, meanwhile, have been quick to pounce on the polling data, using it as proof that Labour has lost its way. They argue that the party's focus on progressive causes at the expense of traditional working-class issues has alienated its core base. The rise of Reform UK, they say, is a direct consequence of Labour's failure to address the needs of its most loyal voters. Looking ahead, Milliband faces an uphill battle to retain his seat. The current polling trend suggests that Reform UK has the momentum, and with their strong message of populism and nationalism, they have captured the imagination of many voters who feel abandoned by the mainstream parties. Milliband's campaign will need to quickly pivot if he hopes to retain the trust of Doncaster North's voters. It will require a renewed focus on local issues, a better understanding of the concerns of working-class voters, and a more effective outreach strategy. Ultimately, the outcome of this race will have far-reaching consequences for both Milliband and Labour. A loss would be a blow to the party's credibility in the north of England, and it would reinforce the narrative that Labour has become a party of the elite, disconnected from the working-class voters who once formed its backbone. For now, Milliband's fate remains uncertain, but the signs are clear. Doncaster North is in play, and if he is to retain his seat, he will need to prove that he can once again be the voice of the working people who have supported him in the past. As the election approaches, all eyes will be on the constituency to see whether Milliband can hold on to his seat, or whether Reform UK will deliver a stunning upset that could reshape the political landscape in the north of England. As the election nears, the tension in Doncaster North continues to build. The constituency, once solidly in the Labour fold, is now teetering on the brink of political upheaval. If the polling data holds true, Ed Milliband's tenure as its representative could soon come to an end. What's even more alarming for Labour supporters is the rapid rise of Reform UK, a party that was hardly a blip on the political radar just a few years ago. Their surge in popularity signals a seismic shift in the political landscape, one that could reverberate far beyond this one constituency. For Ed Milliband, the race to retain his seat is not just about defending his own political career. It's about the future of Labour in the north of England. The party's historic strongholds in working-class communities are eroding, and Doncaster North, a seat that should be a safe Labour bastion, has become the symbol of that larger problem. Losing this constituency would have implications for the party far beyond the local level. It would be a stark reminder that Labour's traditional base is no longer guaranteed, and the party's failure to adapt to changing voter concerns could cost them dearly. Labour's problems in the north are not unique to Doncaster North. Across the region, long-time Labour voters are growing disillusioned with the party, feeling that it has abandoned them in favor of more cosmopolitan, progressive issues that don't speak to their day-to-day struggles. For many, Labour's focus on climate change, gender equality, and social justice feels increasingly detached from the realities they face: job insecurity, stagnant wages, and a lack of affordable housing. These are the issues that matter most to working-class voters, yet they feel as though they are being sidelined by a party that has lost touch with their needs.